Welcome to another episode of the Profitable Home Services Podcast. I'm your host, Diane Gardner, and I'm so thankful that once again you're joining us for another one of our episodes. We want to help you build a business that's not just busy, because there's too many of those out there, but we want you to build a business that's wildly profitable. And today we're going to do a part two with Chris Durrell. He was on our show just a few weeks back. And on that particular episode, we talked about setting up some systems and that type of thing. So be sure and go back and catch that episode. And today, Chris and I want to pick up a different topic. Don't worry, we'll still give you a profit leak at the very end of the show. I'm seeing Chris's eyes are going, oh, yeah, okay, I better get one set up here.
We've got them saved. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
we're
I got a couple this
good.
time.
All right, with all of that said, Chris, welcome back. And thank you again for being willing to come back and do a part two, because I
For
felt like
sure.
we didn't finish it last go around. We ran out of time and needed to come back in and do just a little bit more.
Well, I'm happy to be here. And this is one of those things. I don't know if anybody has ever done like a sales assessment with you or you've ever done those before. I took those in the past back when I was selling roofs. And I learned about myself that there's like intrinsic, extrinsic, and altruistic selling. And I am an altruistic selling type person, which is great, especially if you're one of my homeowners, because I'm always going to do those extra things for you that I probably shouldn't have that's going to bog my crew down or give you a little discount. And it's like, I'd rather just help you and help somebody else get something to solve their problem than I am motivated by money. And that's the great thing is I'm not our salesperson for the business I'm in anymore because I just want to help and share ideas and knowledge. And so I know we're here. We'll talk a little bit about like what virtual assistants and assistants for roofers and tradespeople look like. But a lot of this is stuff, hopefully, whether it's something we could do for you or you could have somebody else do for you, it's all the same stuff that you can just take action on and hopefully pick up something or a few things today.
Very good. And before we start digging into the topic of what an assistant can do for you and why you really need one, I want to talk just briefly about your role as an owner, whether you're a roofing owner or electrical, HVAC, plumbing, landscape, restoration. It doesn't matter which kind of a business you're running. We all are operating the same way. As an owner, we tend to do different, let me use the word tasks where we're working just in the business. We're preparing an invoice. We're, in my case, writing up a bank deposit. We're doing the stuff that you do in your business to keep your business moving day by day by day. And many of us as owners, we do too many of those admin related tasks. And in my coaching groups, we go through an exercise where we identify what some of those lower tasks are that could potentially be delegated and what some of the mid-level tasks are, and then that highest level task that only you as the owner can do. So in my case, for those of you watching on YouTube, you see Profit First, and then on the other end of my bookcase, you see Money Habits. Those are both books by Mike Michalowicz, but there's 4 books in between, and those are books written by me. Well, I'm the only one in this company who can write a book based on my experiences as a business owner, as an accountant, as a tax coach, and a profit coach. Nobody else in my company has that expertise but me. So it's a great use of my time when I'm writing a next book, which is I'm in the process right now. We have a brand new book coming out called The Profit Leak Files. And Chris, you're in one of our chapters. So I'm
Woo!
excited to get that one
Oh,
finished
that's
up
awesome.
and let you preview your chapter. Um,
Wonderful.
yeah. So, but that's just kind of an example. Things like getting the mail ready to go out the door. Well, the owner shouldn't be doing that. That can be delegated to somebody else. And so these are the things that Chris and I want to talk about today is how do we step back and actually take a look at all the things that we as an owner do? And then how do we figure out which of those pieces could be shared with somebody else? So with that, Chris, is that a good enough kind of
Well, it's a
entry to
great, yeah, I
it?
think it's a great primer. And I think it's one, um, like the people that are listening, you probably all have different tasks that if you just the easy places to always start is like, what's the stuff you hate doing? What's the stuff you don't want to do? What are those tasks that bug you, but you know they are critical to making the business happen? I always think of permits. Permits are probably the universal one
Oh, yes.
across every tradesperson's business that I don't think I've ever met a single contractor that has ever said, I love the permit process. Like it just doesn't happen. And so, like, let's just know that we all don't like doing permits. We don't like pulling the permits. Thankfully, they're mostly online now, but like, I remember having to walk in. You got to go to the city because they don't
Stand
do
in
online
line.
permits, and you got to take them in. And now that's not the case. You don't even have this excuse of like, well, I'm in the field in the area. Let me go drop off this permit. Now you have the ability to do it online, and you still hate doing it, but you're still doing it. And you're probably having days where you're working till 5:30, till 6 o'clock, till 7 o'clock. And these are days where you're waiting to do the most valuable work till the end of the day. And instead, you've filled up the main part of your workday, the part when you have the most time and the energy to accomplish those tasks, but you're filling that time with stuff that is somewhat meaningless and can be done by another person because most of the tasks in our trades businesses these days, they don't have to be done in person and they don't have to be done by you because it's on a software, it follows a process, and we do a lot of the same things on every job, even though what we do and what we serve to a customer. Sure, if I'm an electrician, one day's a panel swap out. One day I'm installing a whole home surge protector. The next day I'm putting in a generator. But guess what? Every single one of those jobs, even though what you did on site was a little different, you still booked the lead, nurtured the lead, set the appointment, confirmed the appointment, did the work, invoiced them, followed up to make sure they paid you because you know they didn't pay you the first time you sent it if you're not collecting on site. Like all of those tasks, you as the owner is working till 8 o'clock at night, working for the mean version boss of yourself who you still report to because he's not nice enough to tell you, hey, I got somebody else for you to help you take this off your plate so you don't have to work late every night. They can do those BS tasks for you. But
Yeah.
we just haven't done it yet for a lot of us.
And something, Chris, I know that certain people have more energy in the morning, others have more energy later into the day. I'm one of those. I pop in my office way before we ever open, and I'm getting stuff done so that when we open for real, I'm available for my team and my clients and things. And not everybody operates that way, but I also know that if I'm going to do heavy thinking type work, I need to do that first thing in the morning when I walk in the door, not at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm starting to feel the effects of I've been up since such and such a time and now I'm starting to run out of steam. So I think if we know our own internal body clock, I don't know if that's the right word or not, we can work to those strengths with
Yeah.
these different projects that we have to get done.
It's 100% right. And there is things that you probably, without realizing it as a business owner, like collecting money from people. One of the least desirable things you can do is call people because not only do you realize I don't have this money and I'm calling them because I need to get paid so I can pay my bills. So you're already in a state of like probably negative feeling. So, is this really the best time for you to be in a state when you're at the end of the day and you're now finally getting these collection calls when you're burnout? You've dealt with some customers who were assholes to you earlier in the day. Like all this has popped up, and now your battery is depleted, and now you're going to go do your least favorite task. That again, like it doesn't need to be you calling somebody to say, hey, did you see the email? Oh, you sent it to my wrong email. Like, think of those tasks that, yes, somebody else could have called and just reminded Chris to pay his bill because he didn't see it in the thousand emails that get sent to him. And these are
Right.
things that we don't like to do. We still continue to do. And it's all because we're just like, I don't know what to do. And then we throw our hands up and we say, well, I guess I'll just keep doing it. And they justify it because they're like, yeah, but I'm making a couple $100,000 a year. And it's like, that'll be cool as long as you survive past 50 and you don't have a heart attack and you're drinking 8 Red Bulls a day to keep you up. And like, this is not sustainable, guys and gals. Like, it's mostly the guys. Let's be honest. Most of the women I've met in the trades are all much better about their health than the guys are. And that probably plays into most guys. We're bad at planning and we need an assistant. And a lot of these business owners you probably work with where it's like you're trying to just remind them of the stuff they told you that they said they were going to do in the last time they met with you. And they're like, Diane, this is exactly what I need to do. I need to go do it. And then they pop up with 10 new ideas between the time they met you and the next time, and they didn't do that thing. And so it's like we just sometimes we need somebody else around to say, hey, remember, you told me this is the thing you said you were going to do, and I know you have time to do it because I just took these things off, these two or three things off of your plate. And now I know you have that free hour that you blocked for those things. And so if we can enable ourselves to just realize there is a way to solve this and take the things off of our plates that we hate to do, that's a good starting point. You don't need to figure it out how you're going to do it. Just admit that there might be a better way to do it.
And two, I think sometimes, um, and let me say, especially my guys that I work with, they're gifted in so many other areas, but they're not gifted in the organization paperwork side. I'm trying to be really nice here.
Yep.
Paperwork side of the business. That's not their gifting. So if they can pull in somebody else who is that gifting, like my own business, that is my gifting is to keep everybody organized and get their compliance work done and get them keep them on the track so they're meeting their goals and that type of thing. When you can attach somebody like that into your business who can play to your weaknesses with their strengths, together you can get way more done than you or I can trying to do it all when we're not gifted in that area.
Well, I mean, what you just said, people are probably listening and thinking, yeah, sure, that sounds amazing, Diane. Good luck. How the hell am I going to do this? And so this is when it's like, I don't want this to be a pitchy thing, but it's like, this is one of the things. So I joined this company after being a client of SMA, and I had an assistant in my roofing business from this company. And one of the things that we changed since I joined in the business was as we match our remote team members to a roofing contractor or a tradesperson in their business, we have them take personality assessments. So we both make sure that their personality is matching the skills and the tasks that we're kind of asking of them in this role. And now we also have the ability where we can have clients that want it. It's like, hey, if you take this really quick assessment, we can make sure the person that we're matching you with is a good fit. Because, like you just said, like most of the successful people out there, at the end of the day, the reason they're bad at organization and these other things is because they're good at sales. They're able to talk to people. They're able to do this. And this is the really tough part to make a business successful is being that face and being the salesperson. And the part though that it's successful until it isn't, like you can only outsell your problems for so long, and then it comes back to bite you where you didn't do the paperwork and didn't have all these things done. And so that's why if you can have somebody that loves busy work and loves paperwork and loves checking things off of a to-do list weekly, daily, monthly, it's like, oh my gosh, your heaven is my hell and vice versa. Because the person that I want to pair you with to be your assistant, sure, she's going to be good on the phone and she can talk to customers, but it's like, this was in my team in our business where I had a team member and she said to me, she's like, I am happy to talk to anybody. I'll deal with them when they're mad. I just don't want to be the first person they ever talk to. And I don't want to go, like, I just don't know what it
Okay.
is, but I don't want to be that first person. And
Mhm.
that's how kind of our team members are is like, if you need somebody who is that first person, the days of outbound calling are kind of dying. And so that isn't really a skill we need. It's like, I need you to be that good second person because we're already talking to the business. You're good enough on the phone, but I don't need you just to handle phone calls all the time. I really need you to be my keeper of my business and help keep the stuff that Diane needs from me on a weekly basis. Make sure my invoices are clean. Did I submit all my material, like miscellaneous things? Did I put all these things into the folder so that we can job cost it? And these are all things that the guys and gals out there, you're running out of time at the end of the day. So then you just don't do it. Maybe you do it sometimes, but then you get to the end of the quarter and you're like, man, wait, this is all the profit we got? Like, where'd that go?
Where'd it go? Yeah.
And you're like, well, what would a world look like where you had an assistant who every single job, all of the receipts got logged every day when it happens, the job costing got done, and then you had a feedback loop so that every Friday she does a report so that when you go into your Mondays, you say, hey, by the way, we sold these jobs last week. If we keep selling these, we're going to be losing a lot of money. So let's make sure we adjust our pricing because not only are we job costing it once it's done, but we can do front end job costing to make sure are we really getting the profitability we hope to get and
Mhm.
build your estimates, put these things together because thinking of like our electricians out there, if you're running a service truck or you got a team of service trucks, you know how it goes. You've got some of these little combo breakers and things that can work in multiple panels, but at the end of the day, of course, the house you go to has the square D panel, and you got Cutler hammer breakers or Eaton breakers on your truck, and you're like, dang it, man. And not only do you not have the part, but you're also on the other side of town where you're not really sure which is the supply house that has that brand for this panel. And oh,
Mhm.
by the way, we need some cheaters and we need this. And it's just a weird, I need somebody to figure out where the hell I can go and just pick them all up. And that's where it's like, hey, could you do most of the work you need done and then tell your assistant, here's the stuff I'm looking for. Go call my parts house for me. Tell me which ones I got to go to. Do these things so that I can, like you said, writing the book in your case, it doesn't make any sense for Dan to go do something else that could you call the part supplier? Sure, but it's going to take you away from writing that book, much in the same way it's taking that electrician away from changing out that panel. And sure, yeah, I've got a helper. Yeah, I've got this, like, whatever. Use your excuses to say, like, well, it's my break time. Like, this is what I'm going to call the supply house. Now I get to make him do all the work for me. Sure, but that's costing you money in your business by taking those easy tasks just because it's like, I just like talking to my buddy at the counter. When I call, I get to catch up with him. And it's like, yes, I know, but this is
But
what's costing you. This
yeah.
is what it's costing you.
Well, and Chris, all too often I see the guys are just going as fast as they can go. And some of the trades, I'm thinking roofing and electrical, probably more than some of the others, really struggle to get those quotes finalized, get the invoices out, and they end up with a pile of stuff on their desk. And that's money sitting there that's not even in transit coming to them because they haven't billed it out yet. Where more your HVAC and plumbing, they tend to get paid more on the spot. But
Yep.
roofing and electrical really can struggle with that. And I've heard a couple of my clients go, boy, you don't want to see my office. There's something holding all that paperwork up. And I think there might be a desk underneath it because they're just running too hard, especially in the summer. They're running
It,
so hard. And when they do finally sit down and look at it, they're shocked by how much unbilled money is sitting there. And now it's another 15, 30, 45, maybe even 60 days before they get paid on it. And now they're
yeah.
hurting and they can't make payroll. So here's where
Ah,
that assistant can pay for themselves two or three times over by keeping the cash turning for you.
so that just gave me a another perfect thing that an assistant helps people with. We do it for roofers. I don't know how the collections process works for all of these, but for the folks who aren't collecting on the spot, a lot of times people are going to get a bill and then it's going to be some period of time before you get your money. And so for the businesses out there, I've heard of many that'll have their sales team responsible for payment. You don't get paid until we get paid, so it's up to you to get us paid. Well, what type of behavior can that incentivize? I've heard of teams where somebody will say, well, I just call them once I run out of my bonus and my draw, then I know when I need to call and get paid and get all my other checks that are owed. And I'm like, this is insane to me that as an owner, they're just like allowing their sales team
Yeah.
because they don't want to collect money because they know it sucks. And so they're like, well, I'm just going to tell them it's their job. But then I have no enforcement mechanism. And so what happens? We're at 60 days before we're getting paid. So we have multiple roofing contractors. This is like, I love telling the story is we've cut their days in half for, we start with them, they're at, north of 40, north of 50. One of them is north of 60. And within a month, just by saying, hey, we have a team member who it is now their job to coordinate this. They're going to call the homeowner. Sometimes if you're in the insurance restoration, you've got to coordinate with the carriers, the homeowner, the mortgage. There's all of this just like call, check, make sure everything's good, get it released, and then tell the homeowner the check is getting mailed. And so there's just a lot of back and forth that every job is the same. You got to call these people, do this thing, and then we are ready to go get paid. And this is being put on a salesperson's plate who definitely doesn't want to waste their time with it. And it's a perfect thing for the admin assistant to hop in, do this for you. And now all they do is say, hey, your sales guys can come out and pick this check up, puts it on their schedule, they go pick it up. And in most of these cases, if you're providing a payment link, it's just a matter of, hey, get Diane on the phone. And once you have Diane on the phone, it's like, oops, oh, my bad, I forgot to pay that. Can you just text it to me? I'll pay you right now. And like,
Right.
what does that do to your business? And it's not a big change. It's not a big piece of software. It's not a big technology. It's not a big investment. It's literally just getting a person to do the basic things that need to be done, but we rationalize a way to avoid them.
Yeah. So, Chris, what are some of the things that an assistant can do, whether it's an assistant in person or somebody who's truly virtual? What kinds of things can they be doing? Because I
Yep.
know I can just hear the guys going, well, I don't even know what I would ask them to do. I'm too busy right now to think about it. Because as
Yep.
we're recording this, we're in the middle of summer and it's busy season.
It is. And it's the easy way to think of it for a lot of these guys is imagine you had like a truck buddy. And so how'd you train your team? When you started, they rode in the truck, they sat next to you, and it's like, hey, call these people, do this stuff. And you, like I sat with my father-in-law, and this is how we train. He's like, sit there, here's the appointment book, call these people. And it's like, what would you have your truck buddy do for you while you're driving the truck? And so it's like, hey, if you were going from job site to job site, I need to prep a material order. Okay. Do we need measurements? Is this something we're pulling from supply house stocks? Do we need to get price lists from vendors? Okay, get this for me. If we look at kind of what we do, production is part of it, sales and marketing is part of it. And where the owners have problems is really where we help them. But conceptually, the production angle is easy for them to understand. I have to do this over and over. I send a quote, I follow up on an estimate. These are the steps I need to do, and it's all pretty uniform. Even the guys that say, well, every job of mine is a little different. You're not going to be able to do that. Okay, you're right. You're right. We can't do that. There's no way that you could just write your material list on a picture, take a picture of it in company cam or text a picture and say, build this up for me, put it in my software quote, and then email it to the homeowner and call them for me to make sure they got the quote. Like, this is the stuff that instead of you spending 15 minutes in a homeowner's driveway after you do that site visit and inspection and then build it up right then so that you don't miss it, start driving. Start driving right away and call your assistant. And this is whether they're a remote person who's overseas, like our team members, or it's somebody that's just local. Hey, I'm driving to the next job site. Here's what I need you to do. Our pictures are in the photo management tool. Go in there, pull these in. Here's my material list. Here's this. Put the estimate together. I'll review it when I get to my next stop real quick. And then I'll call you back and tell you it's good. And you can send it to the homeowner. And so now it's like, if I do this 4 times a day, that 15 minutes that I was sitting and waiting to build an estimate is now 15 more minutes of just I'm on the road driving to the next one. By the end of the day, I have an extra hour for one more visit. What's 5 more site visits per week going to do for your business? Heck, even if it's a repair, like if you're running a service truck and you could get 5 more appointments for 200, 300, $400 a service call, like what, if you're charging low minimums, even that, you're still getting $1,000 more a week. And so if you're pricing things correctly, this is where it's like, what does 2,500 a week look like? What is 10,000 a month? Like one extra appointment a day. This is extra 120,000 in revenue. And most of this is probably going to be stuff that if it is small, it's very profitable. And if it is bigger projects, great. They're even more profitable on just the total amounts. So
Wow. So it sounds like there's a lot of different ways that an assistant can step in and help any of our home service guys, especially your roofers and things that that you are working with.
yes. And this is when we look at an effective way. If people are thinking about, I've got too much stuff in my business that's already messed up, I'm not even ready for a VA. A really good place to start is talking to a coach or a professional like Diane, talking to you, because you're going to be able to help some of these owners understand maybe where is these blind spots or the gaps that are causing them some issues that they just don't even know where to look. And then they can someone like Diane can help an electrician say, hey, it's really not a sales problem. It's not a lead problem. It's this. You keep selling work that is way too low because you have no feedback loop to cost these jobs and do this and this. This is probably where your assistant should start. And then where you come in with us is where we can point out and say, okay, now that we've solved this, like the sneaky leaky, it's in this category. We've kind of whack-a-moled him. Which is the next one? Where's he popping up? Because there's
Yep.
always something
Pop
to
it
go
up somewhere
after.
else. Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah.
so with that Mike Michalowicz book, I always use that as kind of a good framework of like, where do we go first? And it's like start at sales, go to profit, order, impact, legacy. Let's work our way down that book and focus on if you're selling enough and you're converting enough, let's go fix the rest of those things. And if you're not selling enough, what can we do to help you sell more? And then this is where same thing, open up that world of how do I help get my name in front of every realtor in my town? Well, if I drove to everybody's office and just showed up, it's going to be a waste of my time. I'm never going to do that. Okay. What if you had an assistant who called every one of their offices, set an appointment, and said, hey, Diane, the electrician's going to come out and meet with you because you probably have never had an electrician stop to your office and maybe do a lunch and learn or offer to educate. And so this could be a way you help generate leads for your business without just going to pay for Google Ads. You have an assistant who's calling all of those people and saying, I'd love to set up a meeting. Here's how we help homeowners. Here's things that we do to help solve things along the way that you and your homeowners are facing. Realtors are always a good one because whether you're an electrician, a plumber, a roofer, a painter, like every time somebody says, I just bought a house, I need help with, and you're like, oh, I know it's one of these five things. I guarantee it's
Yep.
one of these five things.
Guarantee.
And so have that price list, give that to those realtors. And so, like, we had one, the roofers, where I said, here's your top five roof repairs that you are always calling me about, with a price roughly of what these all run. If it's pipe boots, if it's, gutter repair, whatever these things are, here's my price list. And so, just so you know, to either ask for credits, negotiations, or give your homeowners to say, hey, we've got this in here, they'll come out and fix it, and it's going to cost you $1,000 for those things roughly. How many more leads will you get from somebody because you've provided value to them? You're making them look more effective as a realtor. You're helping them close more deals, solve problems for their homeowners. And in return, you're getting more business, but you're not doing this because why? Oh,
You
I
don't
didn't
have
want to,
time.
I didn't have time. I didn't have time. And by the time I did have time, they're out of office and I don't have the energy. So it's like, maybe tomorrow. And
And
that
then
maybe
maybe
tomorrow turns
tomorrow.
into,
Yeah.
here we are 20 years later. And these guys, there's a lot of guys out there I feel for, the folks that are out there saying, like, man, our business just isn't what it used to be. We started it 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and like it's just tough. They probably need to be really doing some deep reflection on, like, what is their process, back to that business of, like, what's their process for all the things they do, because it's probably not been reevaluated. And the good thing about considering an assistant, whether it's remote or a local person that comes, rides with you, works in your office, you need to think through your process to train them effectively. And so this is what we do, and what makes us different from just hiring a remote team member yourself is we couple that process with the people that we provide to really help guide you on that process for your trades business. But again, it's not rocket science. It's just helping you see, here's the stuff you need to do in each of these steps. And most of the time we can talk to a lot of people and just say, you don't need me. You just need to go do them. But if I call you in 6 months and I ask you, did you do this? And you say no, then I know you need me. And then it'll be time for me to actually try and pitch you on what we're doing. But let me prove to yourself first that I know you're not going to do it. You're not going to follow up with the old leads. You're not going to follow up with your old estimates. You're not going to call every customer for a review, but you will say it's a little slow in business this year. So I'm going to be the one, if you're listening to this in your truck, think of me as the young guy that's just challenging. You're a little annoyed hearing this because you probably know I am right, but there's something in you that doesn't want to change, but you know it needs to. And this is what I'm here for. I'd love to have a conversation with people like that. Talk to people like Diane, like, you're listening to these things for a reason. And so hopefully you see an ability of, it's not what we have today, but I see maybe I could get there. You don't need to know how to get there, just know that you could. And let's help you find that path of what that looks like.
You bet, yeah. And oftentimes, Chris, I've seen assistants, once they get comfortable with what's going on, actually taking on, whether it's updating or even creating some of those SOPs, because they're the person who's kind of the outside looking in, and they can see it easier than somebody who's been doing it for 20 or 30 years. Because in our brains, well, it's only 3 steps. In reality, it's 13 steps. And so they'll pick up all those other steps that you and I, because we've done it forever, we won't.
Yep.
And so you get a nice new set of eyes on that side of the business as well. And I have seen that so often over the years, how all of a sudden things start getting documented that may not have been documented, or if they were, it's been a long time since they've been updated.
Yeah, and that's a really common problem. And when people ask me, because our service is more expensive than if you just go on Upwork and hire somebody direct.
Mhm.
But the question they always ask me is like, well, why would I pay you guys to do that? And it's because of that kind of knowledge offload and process offload that you
Mhm.
can definitely find great talent on these websites. The problem is the frequency of which you're going to find that talent is not as good, because you're going to sort through 10 people to really find your person and go
Yep.
through a couple iterations of it, costing you a lot of time, energy, money, stuff to just get them up to speed. And so our business, it's kind of that management layer on top that we make sure we make it easy for you to offload process, but also the people you get when we put them in those seats and they're working for you. If they aren't the right fit, we're going to be making sure that and watching that. But we are there to kind of be along with that journey to make sure your team member, if they say, hey, Steve the roofer only told me to call this lead list back. Your normal VAs probably aren't going to go ask you for more or go look for more things to do.
No.
But with our team, that's part of it is like we want to make sure they're busy all week. And like you said, there are a lot of good assistants out there that they're going to do it better than you will. And the brain that they look at it and the lens they look at it through, they're good at documenting and saying, hey, this is what has to happen. You explained it to me this way. And then when I did it myself, it actually was, like you said, 20 more steps. So I put all of those extra steps that you forgot about and I had to call you about 4 times. And so this is where, for many of our contractors, like I want roofers, I want electricians, home service contractors that are, at least 3 million in revenue, roughly, and up. But a lot of those people that aren't there yet and ready, it may make sense for you to try your own VAs, because the cost that you can get a remote team member for, you can find people out there for literally 8 to 12 bucks an hour if you hire them direct. And there's upsides and downsides to it. Don't let me steer you wrong. And there's a lot of people I've met who have done this and built teams successfully themselves. It's not that easy. But if you just need an assistant, you just need somebody with some of these basic help. Like there is tons of remote team members all across the Philippines, Brazil, all these countries that they've worked for realtors, they've worked in home service businesses somehow, and they understand kind of a customer service delivery process that, frankly, they're almost like robotic in a sense of I follow a process, I know a process, and I learn a process, and I'm really good at it because those little things that pop up, like if you want me to do outbound calling and reach realtors, sure, let me do this, because by the 10th call, I know what my pitch needs to be, and then I can be effective. And so go look that route if you're not at that size to say, hey, I want to hire kind of that managed team. And I think there is always options for US based assistants. But what I think is one I would always tell people, just be very, very careful. Don't hire an assistant because they're a friend or a family member that needs a job and you
Oh,
think that
yes.
they can do it. That is almost never going to work out well. Sometimes it can, but it's tough. And so make sure, if you are going to hire a US based assistant, if you're going to pay somebody this, did you put them through the proper vetting process? Was there some sort of a screening system? What are you doing to ensure, expectations between what you think they're going to do and what they think they're going to do? And all of this, like, don't go ruin a friendship or a family relationship
No.
just because you wanted to help them and then it blows up in both of your faces. Because you could have either tried it yourself and hired a VA, or you hire somebody like us, where for what you're going to pay them in the US, you're going to maybe pay them 20 bucks an hour. And it's going to be under the table. And hopefully, maybe they file taxes or not, but they're not getting insurance and healthcare and all this. Our team members, it's the same thing. It's 20 an hour, but they're W-2 employees. They have a 13th month's pay. They have healthcare, they have retirement benefits, all of these things that are part of a culture and an organization that we make sure we're investing in people for a long term, so that we are, when people go from I tried my own VAs, I've tried this myself, and then they flaked on me and they went somewhere else. That is what you get with us, because we're getting in people that come in and want to stay and be with a contractor for a long time and not just a rotating door, and they want to be part of that team. And so it's a little different, but it's important of, like, when you hire these assistants, make sure they're part of your team. Don't just treat them like it's an assistant that does this task. You have to treat them as people that are on your team, even if they are part-time, because that's where I see people failing and using assistants or trying to get an assistant, is they are just hoping that they'll just do what they expect without all the information, knowledge, and any sort of bringing them in the loop. And I heard about a contractor that said, well, we tried a VA and it didn't work out. I said, okay. I said, why not? He's like, well, we all have iPhones. And he was on our other things, so he couldn't be on the group text. I said, dude, so you're telling me you guys didn't look for a workaround for how you could have a group text. And because of this, your VA is basically on an island unless he talks to one of you directly. He's on an island and he's not part of that. How do you expect him to want to go pick up more things
Right.
and get more things and pull things off of your plates if he's not in those meetings where all of that comes up? And so this is one where it's like, bring them into your team, include them. But at the end of the day, if you think about a VA or an assistant, go read the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Another really, really good book to help you think of, how do I get my time back and spend my time on only the important stuff that I can do? And he'll help you think through that journey.
And your family will thank you for coming home on time instead of, coming in at night after the kids are in bed and that type of thing. Your family will thank you dramatically for that. I know when I first hired my very first VA, I was so nervous about what to have this person do. Have been doing it all for so many years. And one of the coaches I was coaching with at that time, she had she took one of our sessions and just had me talk through the kinds of things I'd like this person to be able to do. And then we prioritized. And we said, okay, within 30 days, I'd like them to be able to do this group of things. And within 60 days, and we're going to add this other section to it. And then with 90 days, they should be able to hit the whole list. And then that way, you're not throwing 150 things at them on day one, and break that down into some bite-sized pieces that allows you to be able to spend some time with them and them to succeed in what you're asking them to do, whether it's a virtual or in person, either way. Having that type of a 30, 60, 90-day plan can be very helpful for both parties because they can see what you're expecting and they know if they can rise to that challenge or not.
This is one I've learned personally, especially with my assistant, and it was one working with, Americans, remote team members, etc. In having, personality assessments and all these things of understanding how I work. I know where my weak spots are. And it's like, I know I don't like checking emails and I avoid checking emails because frankly, there's just not that much important stuff that is going to get missed in emails these days where it's like they're going to figure out another way to get you. And that's how I believe. But I know that that's not always the case. And sometimes I will miss an important email that I should have gotten. So my assistant, she checks all my emails for me and flags like, hey, this is the one you need to read this. The rest are all just kind of nothing to see here today. And I know there's, AI and these things can help with emails, but it's more of having a person that I can tell her or him, hey, here's my blind spots. Here's the stuff like my expense reports. Christelle, you have to remind me every month to sit down and we block a 15-minute meeting where all we do is I give her my receipts for travel stuff and we go through that because I'm like, if we don't do this, it's me trying to do it in between the day and middle of the tech stream. And so
And it
doing
doesn't.
things like this where it's
Yeah.
just an accountability partner for me of I know I need to be held accountable. So help me, present me, help out future me from being mad at present me today. And like just thinking about how do we make it so that if we can eliminate some of these things that frankly, a lot of us out there as entrepreneurs, we all have ADHD, we forget about stuff. And so it's like the more we can do to plan, build in a routine, a system, and a schedule, and you have that person that doesn't let you waver from it is like, hey, I always feel bad letting her down. If I didn't show up, if I didn't do this thing, I'm like, and I'm like, wait, she works for me. But there's something about this kind of power dynamic of she's my assistant who is here to help me from me that makes me make sure I'm like, well, I don't want to let her down. And so this is one we've developed such a good working relationship where she knows like when we're in meetings, if we're doing things of like when to pause my thought. If I'm just going on about an idea, it's like, this isn't our spot. You told me to tell you. If we start diving into fixing a problem, I got to flag it. And it's like the safe word, raise the hand, press the emoji on the keyboard and be like, oh, yeah, yeah, we don't need to solve that now. Let's get back to this. And that's
Right.
where, having these assistants, this is a team member from the Philippines that it's like she lives on the other side of the planet and she's my most valuable team member. And I don't like every day, I'm like, shit, how would I do this if I didn't have her? So yeah, shout out to you, Christelle. I'm sure she'll be editing or watching or something about this later.
Very good. Well, Chris, we are coming up to the time in the program where we get to explore a hidden or unique profit lake. And I know you left us with one last time. Let's see if you can give us a different one this time. So I know our listeners look forward to this section of the episode every time.
Yes. All right. So I would say this time around, if you were all to take you don't realize where this money is being missed or lost in your business and kind of how your time is spent. So the best thing you can do is go and do that time and energy audit and figure out which of those tasks in your business, when you rank them for the value that they provide your business, which are the ones that are giving the most value. And the sneaky leaky that is probably taking more of your money than you realize is how much time you spend on the ones that you assign $1 sign to, and how many of the ones that have $3 or $4 signs. If you're being honest and you look at this and say, what do I trying to do for my business? It's more revenue, more profit. I need to focus more on this stuff. And so do that assessment and just think through where could you really give up a few things, because those are the things you need to give up in order for you to become more profitable. And in doing so, you're going to have to figure out if I don't do them, well, who's the person that'll do it for me? that's an easier problem to solve. And that's where you go talk to Diane or call me.
Right. And from my side, we call that putting on your CEO hat. It's time to step up, and now I'm going to do some CEO kind of things and not just everyday stuff that has to happen. So we have some strategic CEO time on our calendars every week so that we make sure those things get done. So that was a great hidden profit leak. Thank you. And with all of these hidden profit leaks that we uncover on every episode, they're not sitting on your profit and loss statement or your P&L statement with a line that says hidden profit leak. It's not going to be there. We have to go looking for them, and we have to plug these leaks because they are draining money. Like you mentioned, our sneaky leaky guy, he loves to pull money out of your business quietly and sneakily, and all of a sudden you don't realize it, but you've lost thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in these areas, as you, especially if you group a few of them together. So thank you for sharing that one, Chris.
Yeah,
And
thanks,
Chris,
Diane.
yeah, what's the best way for our listeners to get a hold of you and learn more about you and explore this idea of picking up an assistant for their business?
Yeah, definitely check out the SMA support YouTube. So YouTube sma support.us or our website sma support.us. Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook. Just look my name up, Chris DeRoll. But yeah, questions, process-based questions, thinking about delegation, reach out, send us a message. We're always happy to share advice and it won't cost you anything.
Very good. And I'm just going to throw one more piece on there is oftentimes we find ourselves looking at this assistant person as an expense to the business. And I just want to say it's not an expense to your business. It's an investment that you will get an ROI back on as you are willing to give up some of these lower value items and gain back your time so you can put it in the higher value areas. That lower person, that assistant that you've hired, will start giving you 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times ROI back on what you're paying them. So just wanted to just kind of remind them this is not just another expense item like your telephone or your insurance or your utilities or something. This is an investment in the future scalability of your business.
Well,
So,
and that's
and
actually the one
mhm,
last thing I've add. We've got a downloadable profit audit calculator where you can kind of see where am I losing money potentially. And so it's kind of
okay,
walking through roughly 5 steps in your business from like leads, estimates, etc. Are you doing these 5 things? And if you're not, you're probably missing some money. And so that's another good place to check out. You can get that on our website.
very good. Okay. And then earlier, Chris mentioned another book by Mike Michalowicz, and that book was called Fix This Next. And so in here, he starts with the premise that we always look at your sales as an area, the first place to dig in. And then I pop in there and say, before we go to sales, we need to look at your costs because you're not ready to ramp up your sales if you don't know what your costs are. So I would insert another level below sales and say, let's look at those costs before we start blowing up your sales. But anyhow, for those anybody who was curious about that, that is Fix This Next by Mike Michalowicz, and um, another one of his great books. So, okay, with that, I think we're going to call this a wrap. We're running out of time. And for those of you who faithfully listen to our program, thank you so much for that. And I know you've heard me say this again. It's not how much money you make on your top line revenue, it's how much of that money you're able to keep. So I'm hoping that you found some tremendous value in today's episode, as you do in all of our episodes. And if you have, would you please take a moment, leave a review, share this episode with another home service business owner, like and subscribe on all the various podcast channels as well as our YouTube channel. It helps us get more traction out there, and it helps more people find our program as you guys like and subscribe and that type of thing. And I see you doing it. So thank you so much because our numbers have been growing steadily. So if you'd like help identifying some profit leaks and building out your pricing and your service structure so that you can support growth and scalability, reach out to me. We are doing a profit leak workshop at the end of every month now. And in that workshop, I'm always able to find at least $200,000 in profits and cash that's leaking out of a business. And I'm trying to do different businesses as we go through this. And sometimes we're finding 4 or 5 or even 600,000 leaking out. So it's just a way to get your eyes open and get you thinking, Ooh, how much is leaking out of my business? And we'd love to help you through one of our many coaching programs, as we've got them tailored all the way from the smaller guys up to the bigger guys. So thank you again for listening, and we'll catch you on our next episode of the Profitable Home Services podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.